Hello and welcome to Richmond Kickers Weekly. My name is Darryl Grove. I'm joined by the man who was in the announcer's booth on Saturday. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. And I learned of the panic of missing out on a play and not knowing what happened. It was great. It was great times.
So could you explain to people what exactly your job was? Because it's not common. We did the play-by-play in, 2016, 17? It wasn't that, right? It's much less work.
You did the play-by-play. Very important note there because when we experimented with who should do it, I think mine was a lot of Richmond with the ball, Chattanooga with the ball, Darryl Witt specific, which is what you need. So I was not doing that. I was just doing more of the PA announcements, keeping people up to date with what was happening on the field in terms of yellow cards, goals, assists, and then other just announcements, the important ones being when beer was no longer being served.
Yeah, I heard you refer to it as the saddest part of the evening.
Yes, I sure did. I also encourage people to cheer because otherwise the Red Army, the Ultras group, would not stop asking them to cheer.
Yeah, so the Stand Up for Richmond moment, which is a big Richmond Kickers thing, right? It's a big Red Army thing where they ask the rest of the crowd to stand up for Richmond. And it's kind of a 50-50 hit and miss thing sometimes. I think with your announcement over the PA, and the Red Army cadets went round with signs that just said, please. I think that combo made it happen.
I am more than happy.
I stood up. I wasn't with the Red Army. I was sitting separately with a couple of friends from England. We stood up.
There we go. Yeah. I'm more than happy to take credit for that and for the overall win. So there you go.
So yes, 1-0 to the Richmond Kickers. Goal from Joe Gallardo. Second 1-0 win in a row. Let's get to this. What's going right with the Richmond Kickers? Because it really felt to me on Saturday night and on the rewatch, because we rewatched on ESPN Plus, a little bit blurry, occasionally out of focus, but we rewatched. Yeah. What's going right for the Richmond Kickers? Why is it working?
To clarify, you mean aside from me doing the in-stadium announcing?
I don't think that was the main thing.
I mean,
yeah.
A little bit?
A little bit, but not the main thing.
I think the biggest thing is that they have fully fit players, and they have the players that they want to start and want to be able to call off the bench available.
Which wasn't true at the start of the season,
no.
right? Yeah.
And then you had, and there's still, Amas is still out with a long-term injury. I think is going to be a long-term injury. But, we've had Maxi Rodriguez get the double yellow, so then he had to miss a game. We've had players coming back from injury. Braden Troyer is still hit or miss here and there.
But he played and he looked perfectly fit, right?
Exactly.
So I think he's someone we can count on.
But I think he's probably one who would be a starter if he were fully fit. Yeah. So he's still coming back from injury. Abubakar Keita the same, got some minutes in this game, did not start. But it's
actually big because the U20 World Cup roster is coming soon, and if Tab Ramos is looking at that and he's like, oh, Abubakar Keita hasn't even played because he's been injured since the last U20 camp. I kind of think that David Bueller getting Keita on for the last, 15 or so might have been just, let's make sure he's played before the roster's named.
I mean, maybe. I hope that Tab Ramos is keeping better tabs than reading match reports at the end of games. We'll see.
Sure is.
But I think, so you have those players who are kind of available off of the bench, but then you're starting to get players, the players you want to see in the midfield, in defense, up front, getting those minutes.
Marpe, dangerous. Got the assist, I think was a big part of this game. Yeah.
So starting those games, but then also, because they're starting a little bit more regularly now, getting some reps together. So you've got Hughes and Rodriguez in the middle. Yes. You want those two, getting as many reps as possible because they learn how to play off of each other. Rodriguez drops deep, Hughes stays high, but is kind of the connective tissue. Yes. And once you learn how to play off of each other, it's much easier to play soccer than if you kind of don't know your central midfield partner.
And I would say if you go back to maybe the first couple of games of the season, especially the 2 defeats to Lansing, there were moments when we knew what David Bueller wanted to do, right? He's been in the studio talking about, possession style of soccer, and we're going to sort of pull them out of position and make things happen. And what I saw in the first couple of games was the Richmond Kickers playing a possession style of soccer, but almost really cautiously. It was a lot of cautious passes, not taking any risks. And I think if you have possession without that little bit of boldness to pull off a surprise pass or something to misdirect, something unexpected, then the possession kind of doesn't go anywhere. I think this game, Chattanooga sat back quite for the most part, right? Not a lot really deep, but they're sort of 4-4-2. Their two forwards didn't come much beyond the centre circle to pressure the Kickers. So it needed a bit of trickery to open them up. Yeah. And I think that's not for the entire game, but I think that's what we saw from the Kickers was nice little bits of misdirection to create chances.
Yeah, but to go back to your point about them being cautious, I think it's a double-edged caution, I guess, because on the one hand, I think you're right that it was players maybe not being so comfortable with like playing forward or turning under pressure. But I also think there was, because of a lack of familiarity, there was also caution in terms of when players were committing forward, when players were making runs.
Yeah.
And so even if you were trying to play quickly, if you, Daryl Grover, are a central midfielder, and you're turning to play that ball wide, if that winger or that fullback has maybe waited a couple seconds or is 10 yards further back than where you thought they were going to be, now you're kind of holding the ball waiting for that run, and things look slower.
That's
and
true,
I do
yeah.
think you're starting to see more of the kind of patterns of play come into the equation, and you're starting to see fullback gets forward, ball goes wide, ball goes back to the middle, ball goes out wide to the other fullback who's also made an advancing run. Then there's like another support run in behind, and you're starting to see that kind of rhythm of a team that's figuring out where they need to be.
Yes, okay, so you've almost just described the goal, so let's get to it, right?
Genuinely didn't mean to do that, but there we go.
Joe Gallardo in the 52nd minute is the guy who has the ball in the net, but it involves an advanced run from Scott Thompson down the left, our left back, which eventually gets out to our right back, Matt Baldock, who is also making an advanced run.
Can we add emergency right back?
Yeah, kind of, right,
yes.
yeah.
Not the usual right back. I believe both normal starting or both kind of like options at right back, both injured or
so
unavailable.
Lockerbie and Eckenrode.
Yes,
yeah.
unavailable.
They were busy answering Star Wars questions?
You beat me to it?
Yeah.
Yes. Kickers game this weekend, May the 4th, so it's like Star Wars themed. They were doing a Star Wars trivia thing on Twitter this week, but yeah, I guess maybe they're both preparing for that and just not able to play. So instead you had Matthew...
it's a lot of movies to try and watch. They catch
Get them all in there.
Yeah.
You could skip a few. But yeah, so Matthew Baldock, usually starting as more of like an attacking winger, started at fullback, and I also think that helped because he did a very good job defensively. He covered at times. There was one sequence when Connor Shinosky maybe loses the ball for a half second. Baldock is there with the speed to kind of limit the effectiveness of the opportunity for Chattanooga. But then also
recovered as well.
Oh,
right?
certainly did. Yeah, but then also Baldock able to sort of... He's very comfortable with the ball at his feet, dribbling out of the back.
Yeah.
And so that is yet another threat that Chattanooga had to deal with.
Okay, so let's break down the goal. And I would encourage Kickers fans to go back and watch this goal maybe after you've listened to our breakdown. Because I think within this goal, you see a lot of what's really good about the Kickers, at least the stuff that's starting to click.
Okay.
Right? So it's eventually gets worked out to Scott Thompson on the left. You think he starts at like midfield or so. He essentially just takes the bold move to, I'm going to charge forward, right? Thompson advances down the left. He plays the ball into the middle, and here's the part that I think is really interesting, really good. Jackson, centre forward, has made a run like away from the box and dragged a centre-back with him, dragged a Chattanooga centre-back with him, and Joe Gallardo has popped into that space. Joe Gallardo is kind of wide open in the middle of the box to receive this Scott Thompson pass. Right?
Maybe too wide open?
Maybe too wide open.
Maybe you think, no, this is too easy, I don't want the ball quite yet.
Because he miscontrols it, right?
But
there's another version of this goal where that's literally what's happened is Jackson's opened up space and Gallardo's in on goal, but he miscontrols it.
Yeah, and he does. And it ends up going wide, and we can pick it up there in a moment. Yeah. But I want to say, though, to your point, though, that's Jackson vacating space the way, I don't want to get hyperbolic here, but the way, I won't even name names, I'll just say the way, like other teams that we analyze that play for in, higher level competitions for, more famous teams, if a
You're
player
saying he's
did
as good as Luis Suarez.
Obviously. But if we saw them do that, we'd be like, oh, they're making this intentional run. It's a deliberate dragging out to pull defenders with or to create confusion, and that's what this is here. It's the forward vacating space for your number 10, your creative playmaker, to then occupy, and then suddenly, if for a team that's kind of sitting off, as Chattanooga were, as you said, suddenly here's this playmaker who's wide open. Now you're going to try to have to step to him and scramble. If Gallardo controls that, I think it causes massive problems. It still causes problems because even though he doesn't, it goes out wide where the Kickers still have options and kind of an overload on the right-hand side.
Before we get to that, can I just note something ironic? The guy that follows Jackson out there, his name is Leo Fowler.
There you go.
So I feel like Jackson maybe looked at the team sheet and was like, oh, this guy will follow me wherever I go. Come away from the central area.
Oh, Daryl's puns.
So yes, Joe Gallardo with a golden chance, miscontrols it. It pops out wide. But to the key that you talked about earlier, Matt Baldock is already up there. He's essentially looking like a right winger, right? He's already up there, receives the ball. He has Mwape outside of him. And what I like that Baldock does next is instead of just immediately playing it to Mwape, Baldock kind of makes an interior run with the ball, drags everybody inside a little bit, opens up a little more space for Mwape.
And I think that, again, is the key to, not saying that Eckenrode or Lockerbie can't... I keep making it, more Eckenrode. It's Eckenrode.
I think it's Eckenrode,
Eckenrode or Lockerbie, they may be more than capable of doing that, but because it's Baldock, because he looks like such a competent attacker, because he is such a competent attacker...
I think he's maybe the fastest of the three.
That would make sense. Yeah. So then when he does that sort of dribble towards the interior, he doesn't look like a fullback dribbling into the attacking third. He looks like an attacker getting ready to have a shot or kind of go 1v1 with the defender.
Yes.
And so I think think, again, that pulls
he
people towards him.
It carries an air of threat, right?
It creates a moment of concern for the defense of, we need to step. Okay, he might need a secondary defender to come help. Maybe everybody kind of looks at the ball and kind of stops watching their defensive obligations.
So we're saying he's the Leo Messi of Richmond right backs.
There we go. I guess he's the Jordi Alba of Richmond right backs, not left backs.
Fair enough.
And Jordi Alba.
Jordi Alba, yeah. Bolduc dribbles interior, then lays it out wide.
We watched the Champions League yesterday. I guess is what we're getting at.
We certainly did. Yes. Lays it out wide to Mwape. And then he's kind of one-on-one with the left back for Chattanooga, whose name is, I'm definitely not stalling, his name is Zaguro. It's Mwape one-on-one with Zaguro, who has kind of scurried over there, right, to try and close this down. I'm really interested in what Mwape does next, because I'm really interested in one-footed players playing on the opposite wing to where their 1 foot is, right? So Mwape's a right winger, and by the way, he's in USL Team of the Week along with Okoye.
As well, he should be.
He's very one-footed, right? Yep. He's very left-footed playing on the right, and normally you use your left foot to cut inside, like Ian Robben does for Bayern Munich, right? Instead, Mwape uses his left foot to go to the end line.
Yep.
And I think that's
outside of his left foot.
Outside of his left foot to go to the end line. I think that's so unorthodox and odd that's what confuses Zaguro.
I think
he's like, why would you do this?
I think it's also the case that Mwape does have we're going to continue it, he has the Lionel Messi build. It's not quite
low center of gravity?
Not quite as rectangle, but he's lower center of gravity, but has the acceleration. So I think if you're the fullback there, you don't want to overcommit because you don't want to commit a foul, concede a penalty, but you also don't want to get beat for pace to the touchline, and so you kind of have to hedge your bets. But when you're hedging your bets against a player who's as quick and as capable of cutting as Mwape is, you're still probably going to end up losing that foot race, and that's kind of what happens here.
He does, right? Only by a yard or so.
Yep.
That's all Mwape needs. And credit to Mwape because, again, I'm very concerned about one-footed players. They worry me because I feel like it's a limitation. He plays this low crossing right-footed.
Yep.
Right? So that's a big thumbs up from me for Mwape.
And then the other thing that I think gets a thumbs up from you because you're the one that spotted it is the run of Joe Gallardo, who eventually gets the goal off of this cross. Yeah, so Joe Gallardo has stayed central after his miscontrol. He is picked up by Leo Fowler. Leo Fowler has sort of come running back after Jackson had dragged him out. And what Gallardo does is a classic run to the near post, but then take a couple steps back. And again, Fowler follows him to the near post. But then when Gallardo's seen that he's gone with him, Gallardo kind of just like puts the brakes on and takes one step back, and that's just enough to open up space. And Mwape sees it as well. It's an easy cut back, and then a nice sort of across the body to the far post finish from Joe Gallardo for another match-winning goal. There you go. It's a very smart finish. It's very aware of where the defender is, where the goalkeeper is, where that ball needs to be, and especially as we've already said, given that it comes from a miscontrol. And like a bad touch is another way to put that, to then be able to kind of recollect, have the awareness to kind of keep his positioning and then finish calmly and coolly is a very strong sign. A very fast redemption. Yes. Yeah. I will say I enjoyed that goal. I enjoyed getting to do the long goal call. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it because I think it's the same problem. Did you do a full cantor? No, I didn't try to go that far with it. I contemplated doing it. My bigger concern was, number one, blowing out the mic, because apparently that's a thing that can happen if you get too loud. But number two, it's a thing that I experienced when I was doing the Hello and Welcome to the Total Soccer Show, is like just getting loud. If you're flatly delivering a hello and welcome, it comes across like you're a weird robot and maybe you're kind of been body snatched. So you got to get the emotion with it without blowing out the mic, but having it sound genuine. Yeah. So that was, I got to do that. That I appreciated. But it was more so the combinations, like what we're talking about here was a consistent thing of Mattia Mwape popping up in spots that caused Chattanooga problems. It was Maxi Rodriguez dropping in between the center backs, getting the ball, playing it forward to Hughes, who'd have like a little flick to Mattia Mwape, who could then get down the win and find Chin. And you could just see those little patterns, that kind of ability to play quickly from center backs all the way into the attack from the kickers that we haven't seen, certainly didn't see at the beginning of this season. And I don't think this is just me liking the Richmond Kickers or liking what David Bulow is doing. I think it's starting to see, or seeing even more clearly, things that are going to become huge assets to the Kickers in the, like Mattia Mwape's on the right. Oh, no, wait, now he's central and there's an overload there. Oh, now Chin has dropped in, or now Chin is in the middle and Jackson has gone wide. And I found Chin's positioning really interesting. If you look at it as the setup, you call it like a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-3-3. Yeah. He's the left-sided attacker, but he would very often, I looked at his average position on the USL League One website, which I think is Opta data. He's essentially
his average position is alongside Jackson, right? I think that's because he also played centre forward later on, but he does drift central, and I think that gets confusing for opposition players, right?
Certainly, yeah, because if you think, the centre forward's gone, we've got, no, there's another centre forward here, yes, and then, okay, well, that means the left winger, no, the fullback's pushed up, and now we still need to keep somebody back. And you kind of keep teams pinned back, and you keep them adjusting to what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's certainly what you want to be doing when you're trying to win a game.
And here's a moment I want to really highlight. We don't need to go through it maybe play by play, because it's a lot of passes, but there's a Joe Gallardo chance in, I want to say, the 44th minute, right? It's towards the end of the first half.
I will note that Daryl looked away from his notes to speculate on that one. It was not I want to say it was the looks at notepad. 44th minute.
44th minute, there's a Joe Gallardo chance where he gets the ball in the box from, I think, a Thompson cross. And it's not a great shot at the keeper, right? It's like it's a touch and a shot and it's saved. But what's really impressive is the build-up to that. It starts from right back, I want to say. It starts with maybe Bolduc winning a tackle.
It does, yeah.
The kickers pass it all the way up the right wing, through the middle to Chin. Chin lays it out wide to Thompson. Thompson and Chin have a little 1-2. And eventually Thompson puts in a ball to Gallardo that he shapes like he's going to cross it. But we know the kickers don't really cross that often, right? It's why they don't take long, high corners. I think it's because they don't have a big aerial threat. It's a team of what David Buehler called littles.
It occurred to me that you've stumbled upon a conundrum here of it's either short corner or corner. I take your hesitation of long corner implies like it's going all the way to the back post. Yeah,
regular corner.
I guess
Norm corner.
Norm corn.
Then norm corn.
Yeah.
Not many norm corns,
no.
because kickers don't have big height.
A lot of short corns.
So, and then again, this passing move between Thompson and Chin, I think he puts some really nice disguise on it because he shapes like he's going to cross, but it's a low ball in to find the feet of Joe Gallardo right in the box, and it creates a really dangerous opportunity.
There's a Hughes flick in there too. I think there's another one.
Two.
There you go. And so it's. Those are the signs. That's not a thing that we've seen from the kickers. Honestly, that's not a thing you see a lot of times in USL, is the willingness, aside from Red Bulls too, the willingness to keep the ball, keep it moving on the ground and have those kind of probing passes as opposed to, we're in the attacking third, let's put it in the box and see what happens.
Yes. Can we talk about Josh Hughes for a second? Because
Sure.
I think those deft flicks that we're sort of alluding to, I think that's a key part of the less cautious, more aggressive passing, or at least the more risky passing that help the kickers move the ball forward in possession. I want to maybe, for fans who maybe didn't catch it the first time, you can see it on some of the replays. I think it's worth it describing what it is that Hughes does and why it's so important to what the kickers do.
Sure. The best way I can explain it is right now, Daryl and I are facing each other as we record this one.
Yeah.
There is a chair. Our third chair is behind me on my left shoulder, basically. And I guess what we're talking about is if Daryl is Maxi Rodriguez in the Sergio Busquets role, dropping in between the center backs and playing the ball into my feet.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you're the central midfielder receiving the ball with your back to the field, you don't necessarily know what you want to do quickly, and especially if you're under pressure, the inclination is, okay, I'll play it wide to the fullback or to the other fullback, or I'll drop it back to Daryl, Maxi Rodriguez.
Or I'll
Sergio
just take
Busquets.
a touch to control it.
Yeah. And the ability of Hughes to, when that ball comes in, just kind of deftly flick it is not quite what it is. It's a deliberate pass.
It's still an in-step pass, right?
Yeah.
But it's weird.
But it's a pass that splits lines. It finds the feet of one of his teammates. It's an awareness to know where that teammate is.
It means he's checked his shoulder a long time before, right?
Definitely.
And he knows what's around him.
And it also is worth remembering at this point that when David Buehler was in studio, he talked about how Hughes was one player who I think came to him and they discussed him coming to Richmond. And it feels like that's a player that David Buehler wanted for specific reasons. And I think maybe we're talking about one of those reasons right here.
Yes, and I think now that midfield really works, with Maxi Rodriguez being the guy that takes the ball off the centre-backs or sometimes sits between them. Hughes is sort of more roving around and then is the kind of quick connective tissue with those deft little passes. And then Joe Gallardo can kind of roam a little bit with the number 10 on his back and make things happen, right? So suddenly we've got sort of a real idea of what the kickers midfield is doing and how it should work and what it looks like.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm excited to continue to see it. Maybe we'll see it this weekend, weather permitting.
Weather permitting, we don't know what's going to happen Saturday night. But I'd say the kickers, this is not just because we're doing this in partnership with the kickers. I really think the kickers are becoming a team worth watching if you want to go see some good football. Yeah,
I'll say this. As a analyst, they need to score more than one goal. They scored 2 against Lansing in the opener. Well, I say that not just because I'm being critical or anything. It's just that. That said, if you a winning streak is a winning streak. If it's a winning streak of a couple games and they're all 1-0, that doesn't necessarily pull people back into the stadium.
I see.
Winning 2 or 3-0 in a game.
You want some big wins so people are go see the kickers score loads of goals.
Pretty much.
All right. In the meantime, though, to make sure that they won 1-0, one thing I really liked was David Buehler's defensive substitutions. Later in the game, he brought on. I think what happened is Chattanooga brought on bigger guys, and so Buehler switched out the fullbacks and essentially brought in some bigger guys. Right. So Keita, who we mentioned, people Arcata, who's a centre-back really, right? Left-footed centre-back, played left-back and won a bunch of headers at left-back. And Braden Troyer came in and played right back. So suddenly it's a lot less about going forward and it's much more about winning balls. And I really think it helped the Kickers see out the last 15 minutes.
Did Troyer end up playing right back?
He did, yeah.
Because he also brings on Ivan Magalis, who's another centre back.
Yes, and pushed Connor Shanosky into central midfield, who actually I think did really well in central midfield. Just lots of nice, simple passes, lots of headed wins. I actually think we talked about the littles.
All the centre backs.
All the centre backs. I haven't done the average height of the team, but in the last 15 minutes, we dramatically increased the average height of the Richmond Kickers, which is definitely one way to see out a game when Chattanooga go more direct and have got some bigger guys up there.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
So there you go. 1-0 Richmond Kickers. As you said, coming up, it's Lansing Ignite again, our bi-weekly game against Lansing Ignite. So really interesting. Lansing Ignite are the only team that's beaten the Kickers so far, and Lansing Ignite have also lost all their other games except for when they play the Richmond Kickers. Conundrum. Also, I want to say it's kind of the big challenge, right? Yep. We've talked about how we think the Kickers' style of play is suddenly working. Let's see it work against Lansing Ignite, who come and do that sort of press with a front three to make it hard to play through. This is almost like the all our revision is done. This is the final exam.
Yeah, well said. But I think because we're talking about how like Hughes is able to connect play in the middle, how they're able to kind of find space, find passes, find time. That's all well and good against a team who isn't kind of pressing you as intensely as we've seen Lansing do. So how the Kickers respond to that will be a fascinating thing to keep an eye on this Saturday.
And once again, it's May 4th, 7 p.m.
May the 4th be with you.
At City Stadium. There will be a Star Wars theme, right?
Apparently.
And it won't be just Ekermode and Lockerbie trying to answer questions.
Hopefully not. It will be Daryl in a full Chewbacca costume, I think.
Not with the weather, I don't think.
We'll see. I
mean, I always feel sorry for Kickaroo in the sweaty costume. I am not wearing a Chewbacca costume on Saturday night.
I think he starts drinking water like 4 to 8 hours before every game.
Anything else to add on the Richmond Kickers, Taylor, before we sign off?
Other than that, I look forward to hearing your in-stadium commentary. I'm excited for you to do that one.
I'm going to do it in your American accent.
Please do.
All right, let's have the Red Army.
Listeners, by the way, Daryl has never done an American accent, and I think never will.
Never, ever will. Let's have the Red Army play us out one more time.